I didn't even think of Houston being Horuston, until after my last video and might have let it go except in comments, but I came up with some other related material thanks to one of my commenters. I already established the Falcons are representative of Horus Ra, Ra Ra Ra. I used that in one of my first videos while talking about cheerleaders explaining to their grandkids how they used to show their Vesica Pisces off to entire stadiums full of people. The Ra reference may be more relevant here though. Ra Ra Ra. I also came up with the possibility of the Patriots representing Set in the eternal struggle of Horus versus Set, especially since we're talking about the West, where Sun Set is and the direction all the human sacrifices are sent. Not only have I brought up the Temple of Set in the military enough by now, but one of the very first things I used in my material was the direction St. Peter's and the Washington Monument are facing. The St. Peter's necropolis and the World War II monuments are both in the head of the obelisk member there and faced west because of Set. That was my assertion. They're firing off the souls, or the ghost orbs if you want, of the dead who are sacrificed in combat and as martyrs. This is all about the birth of the Sun Child, and when Ra, Re, Sun Re, would settle in the western horizon, Horus Zone horizon, it was thought he would go into the underworld of the flat earth only to be reborn as a phoenix the following day. That's the basic overview of ancient sun worship anyway. To occultists, Jesus is Horus, who can also be equated with Apollo. Osiris is Jupiter, Zeus, God and Father. They think Christians believe the same, just incorrectly. This is why Catholicism includes so much sun symbolism, obelisks, etc. I don't want to give the wrong impression though. Occultists and Gnostics will throw Horus, Buddha, Krishna, Zoroaster, Mithra, and other religious figures in your face to tell you Jesus isn't real, or if he is, then he's a much older character. I don't want to labor this point, so just go look up all the coincidences between John F. Kennedy and President Lincoln. They are beyond uncanny. By the time you're done, you'd have to conclude JFK was President Lincoln. Since we know that's not true, we can make the same backward assumption about Jesus and Horus. They're not the same. Enough said and moving on. A while back I was going to make a video about UWEX16, Unconventional Warfare Exercise 2016, a part of the Jade Helm Readiness Program specifically for civil unrest. I never got around to making that video, but I still have all my photos of guard towers being built, as well as some of the vehicles you may be seeing more of soon. I would go so far as to label some of these as anti-zombie vehicles, AZVs. I've read comments from people who play the Fallout games who can't wait for this kind of thing to happen, but they have a big surprise coming if it does. Everyone does. In Jade Helm 2016, Texas was the location and the hostile zone. Texas. Coincidence? That's strange. Now, since I brought up the possibility of a false flag, nuke, or whatever happening, it does seem like yet another huge coincidence. New York and California seem like better candidates for civil unrest to me, but Texas is also a very large area full of people with guns. So it makes sense to train there actually, aside from not hindering big city traffic as much or alarming everyone of doomsday. Texans would take it more in stride anyway, but again, it's an awful big coincidence. If something does happen, then no doubt martial law would follow if enough deaths were involved. They certainly made quite a lot of plastic caskets for Jade Helm that still come into question for a lot of us. And if you wonder why the Jade Helm logo has a wooden shoe, it may be because prisoners can't run and escape very well in them any more than they can sneak up on a guard. If you've ever heard someone running in clogs or flip-flops, then you get the idea. By the way, the word sabotage is believed to be derived from the word sabbat, meaning wooden shoe in the Netherlands. Jade Helm may be a part of the sabotage of the USA, throwing clogs into the cogs of the machine and breaking it down. That is part of the plan of the NWO and why things like 9/11 happened. I still believe they made all those camps, set up all the equipment nationwide, and were readying the military for a complete lockdown of the country after a cataclysm of some kind. At this point, it won't take much, though, just one dirty bomb or nuke false flag to set the entire chain of events off. A nuke is like a mini-sun, and we're talking about the sun child being reborn like a phoenix from the ashes here. This is a part of why I believe the Bible refers to the end times in terms of birth pains. It will be a drastic birth for Horus, Helios, again, similar names, Horus, Helios, or Apollyon in any case. One other quick coincidence is that they call briefcase launch codes a football that they carry around everywhere the president goes. It may mean nothing, but a lot seems to add up here. Face Like the Sun just put out a video about one of the halftime commercials by an avocado company. I never would have caught that otherwise. It's about avocados as a fertility symbol, and it's rife with occult symbolism, including an obelisk. I'm not wrong about this being about Horus. Most of Freemasonry is, anyway, since they call themselves widows' sons of Isis. That means they're all Horus, or their own personal Jesuses. And when Ishtar, who was also Inanna and Isis as well as others, came down out of heaven in an egg, as the story goes, it's not just a fertility reference, but it's also the reason we dye Easter eggs. The official color of eggs at the White House is blood red on Easter Sunday because of its origins and ritual sacrifice of infants. The ones I'm showing here are Catholic. I think you get the idea. Avocados are like an egg in a womb, like a meteorite or a falling star or angel that might have been worshipped, just as the Kaaba stone is in Islam. All this revolves around the so called star Sirius and the planet Venus as eastern stars and morning stars and the birthing of the sun child. So you can see how they related falling stars as falling eggs from heaven of a kind. There's an obelisk of Escapaisis, and from it the gods will bring us a son child. In the occult world, Horus, not Jesus, and they will use their rituals to further this end, along with negative energies that can be manifested from an unwitting public. If it were just science and opening portals with things like CERN or a Stargate, they wouldn't bother with the rituals. It's a particular synchronicity that's required. Anyway, just expect whatever Lady Gagalon does to be very Egyptian for halftime. Most commercials may even revolve around it too. I don't know. We'll see. Lady Gagalon will perform witchcraft in musical form in any case, even if nothing else happens. Again, I wouldn't watch it live anyway. I know some people will want to be the first to make an analysis video about it, but we would just be helping along their endgame. The post-game interview with the Antichrist. Football. Thank you. Football. Thank you.